Tonight, new satellite images obtained by CNN showing the utter devastation in Ukraine. I'm going to show you a theater and shops in Bakhmut. That's what it is. Now a shell of a building surrounded by devastation. We'll show you the same location just over a year ago. Look at it. Side by side. We'll show that. It's astounding. Look at that devastation. And now let me show you this. Here's what's left, okay? This, it looks like you're looking at ancient Roman ruins here, right? This was a school and an apartment complex. Let's show you that same spot 1 year ago and virtually wiped off the map. And it is incredible. Look at that, side by side. Life and death, destruction. And it is clear now how far Putin is willing to go to hide the truth from Russians about his war. Now ordering the arrest of a prominent film producer, Alexander Rodnyansky. He's going to be my guest coming up in just a moment. Rodnyansky has produced Oscar-nominated and Golden Globe-winning films. He was born in Kyiv and then lived in Russia for 2 decades. He was vocal about his opposition to the war and fled Russia when Putin invaded Ukraine. But now Putin wants him to pay because he's saying the truth. And of course, the truth is something that Putin does not want Russians to hear. Matthew Chance is out front with more.
It's state television where Russia fights its information war. The lead story, the US Patriot missile battery. Russia insists it destroyed in Kiev. US officials tell CNN the system remains operational, but this is too rare a victory for the pro-Kremlin media to play down. The much-promoted Patriot was destroyed by kinjals, the presenter gloats. Our hypersonic missiles were so fast they cut through Ukraine's air defences like a knife through butter, she adds. As for the 6 hypersonic missiles Ukraine says it shot down, a fantasy number, the presenter says, and more than we actually fired. A senior Ukrainian official now tells CNN only minor damage was caused to the Patriot air defense system when one of the kinjals was shot down at low altitude on Tuesday morning. The official said the US-made system will be repaired soon, and an investigation is now underway into how the Patriot was targeted. Elsewhere, Ukraine says small advances have been made around Bakhmut. These night images appear to show an armoured push in the fields outside. But Russian state television is in the city, touring devastated front lines under constant fire with Wagner mercenaries who say they're confident they will prevail. We will take Bakhmut eventually, this Wagner commander tells the Russian TV crew following him around. But at what cost, we don't know, he admits. Another says they're shelling us from afar because they can't defeat us in close combat. We're too strong, he says. Ukrainian officials confirm fierce fighting in the city, captured on this latest drone video. Areas of Bakhmut suburbs devastated, but now being liberated, the Ukrainians say. And back on Russian TV, there's growing acceptance that what was meant as a short offensive in Ukraine has spiraled out of control, exposing weaknesses and divisions in the country. It's not a special military operation, says this guest on state television, but a fateful war that Russians must win or face destruction. As Ukraine prepares for a counter-offensive to reclaim occupied land, it seems Russia is also bracing for a fight. Tonight, Ukrainian officials tell me that they're expecting more Russian attacks. They say they've identified at least a dozen Russian bombers already in the air. Meanwhile, in Bakhmut, the Wagner leader, Yevgeny Prigozhin, saying that his fighters have made more gains in what all sides now agree, including Russian state media, by the way, is an intensifying battle for that city. Erin.
All right, Matthew Chance, thank you so much. I want to go now, as promised, to Alexander Rodniansky, the filmmaker who Russia is trying to arrest. He left Russia after the war began. He has repeatedly spoken out against it. And Alexander, I very much appreciate your time. Let's just begin here now. Putin wants to arrest you. What was your reaction when you found out?
Well, thank you for having me. Nothing would shock me anymore in Russia. I believe Russia as a state is falling down. They are persecuting everyone who tries to protest, who tries to speak out against the war, who tries to say the truth. That's what's going on. That's why I considered this arrest and criminal case against me as a badge of honor and formal recognition of, by the Russian state of my anti-war position. That's what I believe is important for me. Because since this invasion started at the very beginning, I started to speak out against the war and the criminals, and I would say the military crimes perpetrated by the Russian army in my native Ukraine.
So a Russian activist, Alexander, who's based in the United States, she said today that she suspects that she was poisoned on a recent trip to Europe. And we know, of course, Putin has shown no fear poisoning people, look, on the streets of London, streets of cities in the UK, right? But this is based in the American Russian activist, thinks this happened to her in Europe. Are you concerned about your safety? I mean, obviously you're not in Russia, but do you have those fears, Alexander?
I'm not anymore in Russia, of course, but I know how effective could be Russian intelligence in following the people who are protesting the Russian regime. And what's going on right now, I believe this is rather the intimidation of those ones who stayed in Russia. So it's okay with me. I don't have a fear. Nothing would prevent me from speaking the truth about what's going on in Ukraine and with this war. Definitely, I would, and most of my friends are trying to tell me that I should be very careful, and I will be very careful, but I will do what I did. And most importantly, I feel very, strong support of many people who are still living in Russia and trying to support me from there.